Westfield Prep Hockey Rink, 3:15 p.m. on a Monday afternoon. Mia Blake, 16 years old, 5'2" and 110 pounds, crouches beside locker number 247. Her brown hair pulled into a low ponytail, white polo shirt crisp against navy plaid skirt. The perfect image of a well-behaved prep school student arranging hockey equipment with methodical precision. 4 shadows converge around her: Chad Morrison at 6'1", Drake Stone at 6'2", Blake Hunter at 5'10", Kyle Ward at 5'8". Nearly 1,000 pounds of muscle and testosterone closing the circle. Chad taps his hockey stick against Mia's shoulder, voice echoing through the vast rink space. "Look what we have here. Fresh meat?" Laughter bounces off metal lockers and concrete walls. Mia stops moving, looks up with eyes that don't show fear but calculation. The same analytical gaze police officers use when assessing threats. She glances at her simple black Casio watch. 3:15 p.m. My brother will be here at 3:30. More laughter, louder now. "Your brother?" Chad grins. "What's he gonna do, little girl?" Mia stands slowly, brushing dust from her skirt. Her first smile of the encounter spreads across her face. Not fear, but cold confidence. Probably wonder why there are 4 ambulances in the parking lot. I'm building a community of people who care about justice and the safety of our children. If you also believe every kid deserves to learn in a safe environment, please like this video to help spread this message. Subscribe for more stories about justice being served and how we can protect our loved ones. And thank you to those who've been supporting. If you want to help amplify the message about standing up to bullying, the thanks button helps these stories reach more people. Because this story will prove that justice always finds a way to prevail. Mia Blake isn't an ordinary student. She checks locker combinations 3 times, a security protocol habit, chooses classroom seats with full visibility of exits, identifying them within 15 seconds, counts people in any area while noting unusual behavior patterns. These habits don't stem from paranoia, but from growing up in a law enforcement family that moved through 8 cities over 12 years. Her mother works as a forensic psychologist specializing in criminal profiling. Her father coordinates federal security for the Witness Protection Program. Brother Ethan, 24, serves as a SWAT officer with 4 years of tactical experience, currently training at the Police Academy facility just 200 meters from school grounds. Westfield Prep, $45,000 annual tuition, 98% college acceptance rate, marketed as the safest private school in the state, was supposed to be the family's final destination. Stable community, excellent academics, no more relocations. But behind marble columns and manicured lawns, a darker ecosystem thrives, where adults and students alike participate in maintaining power structures. Mia learned early that predators exist everywhere. They simply hate prey who know how to fight back. Her family chose Westfield, believing elite education meant ethical leadership. They didn't anticipate that wealth and privilege could create perfect conditions for systematic abuse, when nobody questions those in charge. The Blake family's expertise lies in dismantling criminal networks. They just never expected to find one operating inside their daughter's school. The Westfield Elite, not an official name, but every student understands the hierarchy that governs their daily existence. Chad Morrison, 17, captains the varsity hockey team while maintaining a 3.9 GPA and guaranteed Harvard Legacy admission. His father owns Morrison and Associates, the largest law firm covering 3 counties, with connections spanning from local judges to state senators. Chad specializes in legal intimidation, understanding precisely where laws end and accidents begin. His track record includes 15 students who voluntarily transferred over the past 3 years following personality conflicts. Drake Stone, 17, stands 6'2" at 225 pounds of pure muscle, supplemented by carefully monitored steroid cycles. His father played NFL linebacker, while his mother practices reconstructive plastic surgery. Drake handles physical persuasion, expert at inflicting pain without leaving documentable evidence. His signature technique involves pressure point manipulation that creates agony invisible to X-ray technology. Blake Hunter, 16, operates as a tech prodigy, with a 156 IQ and early MIT admission. His father runs Hunter Digital Solutions, a cybersecurity firm holding multiple government contracts. Blake controls digital warfare, hacking school security systems, scrubbing evidence, creating perfect alibis, and maintaining comprehensive databases about every student's vulnerabilities, including family finances, medical records, and personal secrets. Kyle Ward, 15 and smallest of the group, proves most dangerous psychologically. His father owns Ward Media Enterprises, controlling local television stations, newspapers, and social media influence networks. Kyle weaponizes reputation destruction, transforming honor students into social pariahs overnight through coordinated character assassination campaigns. Their protection network operates with mechanical precision. Principal Hayes owes Morrison's firm $2.3 million from a messy divorce settlement. Superintendent Crawford's daughter dates Chad with summer wedding plans. Detective Morgan receives $8,000 monthly as a consulting fee from Hunter Digital. Judge Patterson maintains weekly golf partnerships with all four fathers. Mayor Thompson's campaign benefited from a collective $500,000 contribution. The system achieves perfect results. 0 arrests over 4 years, 0 documented complaints reaching district level, 0 witnesses willing to testify, 0 consequences for any actions. Perfect impunity, protected by interlocking webs of obligation, corruption, and mutual benefit. Until today. Monday morning, 11:45 a.m. School cafeteria, table 12. Prime real estate offering maximum visibility to establish social hierarchies. Chad approaches with the calculated charm of someone accustomed to receiving everything he desires. Mia Blake, right? The transfer student. His smile radiates confidence, posture suggesting generous favor being offered. I've been watching you. You demonstrate potential, athletic ability, academic achievement, proper family background. Concrete offers slide across the laminated table surface. Student council treasurer position, including a $1,200 annual scholarship. Homecoming invitation as Chad's personal date, guaranteeing instant social elevation. Most importantly, protection from the school's complicated social dynamics. Westfield has history, Chad continues, dropping his voice to confidential whisper. Students who don't integrate successfully tend to struggle. Academically, socially, personally. But align with us, and you'll thrive here. Blake Hunter produces an iPad displaying social media analytics from previous problem students. Sarah Mitchell transferred after intimate photos mysteriously leaked online. Marcus Johnson faced expulsion when drug possession appeared in his locker. Jennifer Liu withdrew following plagiarism accusations, destroying her college prospects. These represent cautionary tales, Blake explains with clinical precision. Consequences when people make wrong choices about alliances. Drake Stone leans forward, his physical presence intimidating even while seated. Chad's being generous because he recognizes your value. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. Kyle Ward provides the finishing touch. Your choice determines everything. Friend or target. No middle ground exists at Westfield. Mia studies the offered contract, an actual document outlining expectations, responsibilities, and mutual benefits. Legal language addresses loyalty requirements, discretion expectations, and community standards. She stands deliberately, leaving her untouched lunch tray, symbolic rejection of everything being presented. Thank you for the orientation, she says calmly, but I prefer earning things myself rather than accepting handouts. Chad's smile disappears instantly. That's disappointing, and probably a mistake you'll regret making. As Mia walks away, Blake Hunter checks his smartphone frantically. Interesting. No digital footprint from the past 6 months. No social media vulnerabilities. No leverage points. Chad's confidence wavers slightly for the first time. Then, we create some. Tuesday morning, 4:23 a.m. Operation Digital Destruction launches with military precision. Blake Hunter deploys his complete arsenal. Deepfake videos showing Mia cheating on assignments using advanced artificial intelligence from his father's company. Manipulated security footage proving she stole from lockers, fabricated text messages suggesting drug-dealing connections. All content receives professional production with timestamps, metadata, and circumstantial evidence supporting false narratives. Kyle Ward's media connections activate. Anonymous tips reach local news outlets questioning school lax security policies regarding troubled transfer students. Social media algorithms amplify manufactured content through purchased bot networks, spreading evidence across platforms. By 8 a.m., 1,247 views. By lunch, 4,582 shares. By day's end, viral within the school community. Systematic isolation protocol implements with devastating efficiency. Study groups suddenly become full when Mia inquires. Lab partners get pre-assigned, excluding her participation. Lunch tables mysteriously stay reserved for others. Library computers malfunction when she approaches. Teachers remain too busy for office hours assistance. Drake Stone executes physical intimidation disguised as accidents. Shoulder checking in hallways with fake apologies. Hockey pucks accidentally targeting her during practice. Locker doors slamming on fingers while claiming mechanical problems. Chair legs positioned to cause trips. Psychological pressure mounts through manufactured testimonies, spreading like wildfire. I heard her family's in witness protection for criminal activity. My mom said she got expelled from her last school for violence. Someone saw her talking to drug dealers off campus. But Mia doesn't break under the pressure. Instead, she documents everything with professional precision. Photographs, audio recordings, witness statements, digital forensics. Her evidence collection demonstrates law enforcement training inherited from family background. Her response remains measured. If they want to play games with evidence, let's see who's better at collecting it. Wednesday afternoon, 3:45 p.m. Hockey equipment room. Practice concluded. Building nearly empty except for maintenance staff. 4 hockey sticks create a cage around Mia near equipment locker area. Room 247B, between storage aisles 6 and 7, under a flickering fluorescent light fixture scheduled for replacement. The space feels claustrophobic, designed for intimidation. You're becoming a problem, Blake. Chad's voice echoes off metal surfaces, tone shifting from previous charm to open menace. Do you understand what happened to the last girl who thought she was smarter than the system here? Kyle Ward produces a hospital bracelet and medical photographs featuring Rebecca Santos, a previous defiant student. Images show facial reconstruction surgery, psychological therapy documentation, family bankruptcy from medical expenses. Terrible hockey accident during practice. Stick to the face. Doctors did their best repairing the damage, but he traces scar patterns across the disturbing photograph. Blake Hunter displays his smartphone showing live video feed. Streaming to private server with facial recognition active. Anything happens to us, this footage gets released with your face clearly identified. Self-defense becomes assault charges when it's 4 against 1. Drake Stone steps closer, employing professional intimidation techniques. Your choice. Easy way. Apologize. Transfer schools quietly. Disappear from our lives. Hard way. We make sure you can't ignore us anymore. I'm really curious about this situation. When 4 boys surround Mia and use hockey sticks to threaten her, if you were a parent and knew your child was being threatened like this, what would you do? Share your experiences about protecting your children in the comments, because Mia's brother's reaction will completely change everything that follows. Mia's response comes completely calm and analytical. You know what's interesting about bullies? You always assume everyone else feels as scared and unprepared as your previous victims. Chad tightens his grip on the hockey stick. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've never encountered someone whose family specializes in handling people exactly like you. Mia checks her watch. 3:47 p.m. My brother finishes tactical training in exactly 13 minutes. He usually stops by to drive me home. So what? Some college kid brother is supposed to frighten us? Mia's smile widens with genuine amusement. College kid? No. SWAT officer with federal tactical certification and very serious views about people who threaten his family? That's an entirely different conversation. Chad laughs, but less confidently than before. SWAT? Please. My father owns half the police department. Your brother can't touch us legally. Can't he? Mia's phone buzzes with an incoming text message, screen visible to everyone. Training finished early. On my way. E. The sound of heavy boots echoes through distant hallways, professional footsteps moving with measured pace, multiple individuals advancing with military precision. Blake Hunter frantically checks security camera feeds on his device. Chad. There are 6 people in tactical gear walking through the main entrance. She wasn't bluffing. The equipment room falls silent except for approaching footsteps. 4 boys who've never faced real consequences suddenly understand that their perfect system of protection might have encountered something beyond their father's influence. For the first time in their lives, they're about to discover what happens when professional justice meets amateur cruelty. The hockey rink transforms into a tactical response arena within seconds. Emergency lighting activates automatically, while exits become secured positions. Ethan Blake enters through the main doors, not alone, but accompanied by a full SWAT unit executing a legitimate training exercise at the school facility. Official permits filed 3 weeks prior established joint training scenarios with educational institutions. Everything legally documented and procedurally correct. Mia, step back from the group. Command voice replaces brotherly tone. Professional authority instantly transforms the atmosphere from teenage confrontation to federal law enforcement operation. Chad Morrison attempts to maintain control over rapidly deteriorating circumstances. Look, officer, this is just a school matter. Student disagreement. No need for law enforcement involvement in minor disputes. Silence. Hands visible. Ethan's response cuts through attempted manipulation with surgical precision. Radio communication crackles. Control, this is Blake. Multiple subjects with weapons threatening civilian. Requesting evidence collection team and witness protection protocols. Drake Stone makes the critical error that seals everyone's fate. Raising his hockey stick in what he perceives as defensive posture. Wrong response when facing trained tactical operators who recognize weapons regardless of sporting context. The choreography unfolds in exactly 8 seconds of professional execution. Disarmament maneuver removes the hockey stick from Drake's grip using joint manipulation techniques. Pressure point application drops. Stone to his knees, neutralized without permanent injury. Containment secures the remaining 3 subjects using minimal force principles. Evidence preservation ensures all equipment gets photographed, documented, statements recorded according to federal protocols. Surprise elements cascade through the room like dominoes falling. Blake Hunter frantically attempts to delete digital evidence, but federal warrants issued 30 minutes earlier already cover all electronic devices. Nothing can be erased. Kyle Ward tries calling his parents, but specialized communication jamming equipment prevents outside contact during active investigations. Chad Morrison plays his final card with desperate confidence. My father will destroy your career for this harassment. You have no idea who you're messing with. Ethan's response, while applying zip tie restraints, remains professionally calm. Your father's law firm is currently under federal investigation for evidence tampering and obstruction of justice. He won't be taking any calls today. Real-time coordination reveals the operation's true scope. Parents of all 4 boys face simultaneous arrests at their respective offices by federal agents executing a comprehensive RICO investigation targeting the systematic corruption network operating through private school systems across multiple states. Blake Hunter's smartphone buzzes with emergency alerts from his father's company. FBI raids, servers seized, encrypted communications compromised. Kyle Ward watches local news feeds showing Ward media offices surrounded by federal vehicles. Drake Stone receives notification that his father's medical practice faces DEA investigation for illegal steroid distribution. Chad Morrison's privileged world crumbles as Morrison and Associates becomes the epicenter of a federal task force operation. The 4 boys who believed themselves untouchable discover that federal authority supersedes local protection networks. Their father's carefully constructed web of influence dissolves, when confronted by agencies operating beyond municipal corruption. Justice satisfaction arrives swift and comprehensive, dismantling years of systematic abuse with methodical precision. Criminal charges cascade through the legal system like an avalanche. Chad Morrison faces aggravated assault, conspiracy, witness intimidation, and terroristic threats. Drake Stone confronts assault with a weapon, possession of controlled substances, reckless endangerment, and distribution of steroids to minors. Blake Hunter encounters computer crimes, evidence destruction, cyberbullying, invasion of privacy, and federal hacking charges. Kyle Ward grapples with conspiracy, contributing to delinquency, defamation, harassment, and media manipulation violations. The adult network disintegrates under federal scrutiny. Principal Hayes faces dereliction of duty, accepting bribes, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and educational fraud. Detective Morgan confronts corruption charges, falsifying reports, obstruction of federal investigation, and racketeering. Morrison Sr. battles RICO violations, witness tampering, tax evasion, money laundering, and legal malpractice. Hunter Sr. encounters computer fraud, government contract violations, corporate espionage, and national security breaches. Ward Sr. faces media manipulation, election interference, racketeering, and abuse of public trust. Quantified results demonstrate the operation's devastating effectiveness. 23 families receive settlement payments totaling $6.8 million. 67 criminal charges span state and federal jurisdictions. FBI opens comprehensive investigations into systemic institutional corruption affecting multiple school districts. State Education Board implements federal oversight programs with unprecedented authority. Institutional changes sweep through Westfield Prep like a cleansing storm. Zero-tolerance policies receive independent monitoring from federal contractors. Anonymous reporting systems operate under federal management beyond local interference. Mandatory training programs educate all staff about recognizing and reporting harassment. Parent-student oversight committees receive subpoena authority to investigate complaints. Regular psychological evaluations assess all students for signs of trauma or behavioral problems. Personal costs remain despite systemic victory. That evening, Mia completes homework at the kitchen table, while Ethan prepares dinner: grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. Comfort food after traumatic days. They don't discuss the day's events extensively. Professional law enforcement families understand that justice represents duty rather than celebration. Both know their family will probably relocate again for security reasons, as federal witness protection protocols often require geographic separation from prosecuted networks. The Blake family's sacrifice extends beyond personal inconvenience. Ethan transfers to different SWAT units to avoid conflict of interest issues. Mia faces social isolation from students who view her as the Fed's sister. Their parents navigate career adjustments necessitated by high-profile case involvement. Extended family members receive security briefings about potential retaliation threats. Media coverage explodes nationally. Elite prep school scandal exposes decades of systematic abuse, dominates headlines across major networks. Congressional hearings receive announcements regarding private school oversight and federal education standards. Documentary crews gain approval for filming institutional reform processes. Academic researchers study the case as a model for addressing systematic bullying in privileged environments. Local community reactions split predictably along economic lines. Working-class families express gratitude for justice finally reaching wealthy perpetrators. Upper-class parents worry about their own children's schools facing similar scrutiny. Middle-class families demand transparency in educational institutions they fund through taxes and tuition. Student populations grapple with revelation that trusted authority figures participated in systematic abuse. Westfield Prep undergoes complete administrative transformation. New principal, superintendent, and school board members. Revised admission policies emphasizing character evaluation alongside academic achievement. Therapeutic programs for affected students and families. Memorial Scholarship Fund for previous victims who transferred or withdrew. The ripple effects extend far beyond Westfield's manicured campus. Other private schools implement preventive measures fearing federal investigation. Law enforcement agencies receive additional training about recognizing institutional corruption. Legislative committees draft bills strengthening oversight of elite educational institutions. Parent organizations develop communication networks for sharing information about problematic schools. But victory carries profound costs that statistics cannot measure. Families destroyed by criminal prosecutions, children traumatized by learning their parents participated in systematic abuse, communities divided by revelations of long-hidden corruption, institutions forced to confront decades of moral compromise. Rebecca Santos, the previous victim whose medical photographs Kyle Ward used for intimidation, testifies via video conference from her new home 3 states away. Facial scars remain visible despite multiple reconstructive surgeries. Psychological therapy continues years after her accident. Her testimony provides crucial evidence linking current charges to historical pattern of abuse. They told everyone it was just hockey, Rebecca explains to federal prosecutors, voice steady despite visible emotion. But I knew. The angle was wrong. The force was calculated. They meant to hurt me badly enough that no one else would ever challenge them again. Her courage in testifying inspires 12 other former students to come forward with similar experiences spanning 6 years. Broken bones blamed on sports injuries, academic sabotage disguised as honor code violations, social destruction justified as natural adolescent dynamics, family harassment rationalized as competitive private school culture. Dr. Patricia Wren, forensic psychologist specializing in institutional abuse, provides expert testimony about systematic intimidation patterns. These perpetrators didn't act impulsively. They created sophisticated networks designed to identify, isolate, and neutralize perceived threats to their social dominance. The Adult Protection Network enabled this behavior by providing legal immunity and institutional cover. Federal prosecutors present evidence demonstrating the scope of corruption. $2.7 million in bribes paid to school officials over 4 years. 43 documented cases of evidence tampering by local law enforcement. 17 families relocated due to harassment campaigns. 8 students hospitalized for injuries later proven intentionally inflicted. Judge Harrison Martinez, appointed from outside the district to avoid conflict of interest issues, delivers sentences that reflect the systematic nature of the crimes. Chad Morrison receives 3 years in federal juvenile detention plus 5 years supervised probation. Drake Stone faces 2 years detention plus mandatory anger management and steroid rehabilitation. Blake Hunter confronts 18 months detention plus lifetime ban from computer systems without supervision. Kyle Ward receives 1 year detention plus community service involving media literacy education. Adult sentences prove more severe. Morrison Sr. faces 12 years federal prison plus disbarment. Hunter Sr. confronts 8 years plus lifetime ban from government contracts. Ward Sr. receives 6 years plus forced sale of media properties. Detective Morgan faces 4 years plus loss of law enforcement certification. Principal Hayes confronts 2 years plus lifetime education ban. The systematic destruction of the corruption network sends shockwaves through similar institutions nationwide. Elite private schools examine their own policies, while federal agencies investigate reports of comparable problems in other districts. 6 weeks after the Westfield prosecutions, 3,000 miles away, Portland Academy experiences its own confrontation with systematic abuse. A mirror scene unfolds with eerie precision. Korean-American transfer student Kim Park faces the same predatory group dynamics during lunch period. Identical script, identical offers, identical systematic approach to intimidation and control. But critical differences distinguish this encounter from previous patterns. Small tattoo behind Kim's ear, EB initials in tactical font style, hints at deeper connections. When the group leader approaches with Chad Morrison's exact playbook, Kim's response demonstrates unexpected preparation. New girl, right? Listen, I run things here, but I like you. The leader's confidence radiates familiar entitlement. Kim's reply mirrors Mia's words precisely. Thanks, but I prefer earning respect rather than accepting protection. The leader's arrogance increases predictably. Do you know what happens to students who don't cooperate here? Ask around about what happened to Jessica Kim last semester. Completely unrelated name. Just coincidence. Kim's smile matches the expression Mia displayed at Westfield. Actually, I've heard about what happened at Westfield Prep. Your approach seems familiar. Confusion ripples through the leadership hierarchy. What about Westfield? Let's just say your tactics have been documented, analyzed, and shared with people who specialize in addressing systematic institutional problems. Camera perspective pulls back, revealing 3 other transfer students at nearby tables, all displaying identical confident demeanor, all checking smartphones simultaneously. Coordinated network, not coincidence or random placement. The network reveals itself through systematic action rather than dramatic announcement. Operation Safeguard represents coordinated placement of law enforcement family children at problematic institutions nationwide. Not vigilante organization, but strategic use of legitimate channels and professional expertise to dismantle harassment networks through proper legal procedures. Kim Park's father works as FBI behavioral analyst, specializing in institutional corruption. Her mother serves as federal prosecutor, focusing on RICO cases involving educational institutions. Her older brother operates as military intelligence officer with expertise in surveillance and evidence collection. Her younger sister attends specialized training for child witnesses in federal cases. The other 3 transfer students reveal similar backgrounds. Marcus Stone's family includes DEA agents and federal marshals. Sarah Hunt's parents work in cybercrime division and computer forensics. David Cole's family specializes in financial crimes and money laundering investigations. Each family volunteered for Operation Safeguard after their own children experienced systematic abuse at prestigious schools. Their coordinated response transforms personal trauma into systematic justice through legitimate law enforcement channels. Statistical impact demonstrates the operation's unprecedented scope. 73 schools currently face federal investigation following network interventions. Project Clean Slate receives official designation as permanent federal task force. $47 million in settlements paid nationwide to victims of institutional abuse. 847 criminal charges filed across 23 states. Network methodology emphasizes documentation over confrontation. Children receive extensive training in evidence collection, legal procedures, and personal safety protocols. Parents coordinate with federal agencies to ensure proper jurisdiction and procedural compliance. Interventions target institutional networks rather than individual perpetrators. Outcomes focus on systematic reform, preventing future abuse. Dr. Elizabeth Manning, Harvard researcher studying institutional abuse patterns, describes network operations. These families transform their personal trauma into systematic social justice. They're not vigilantes. They're highly trained professionals using specialized expertise to address problems that traditional authority structures failed to recognize or address. Network expansion continues strategically. Families relocate to communities with documented abuse patterns. Children integrate into problematic schools while maintaining secure communication with law enforcement parents. Evidence collection proceeds according to federal investigative protocols. Systematic documentation builds cases against institutional networks. The Portland Academy intervention demonstrates refined methodology. Kim Park's evidence includes digital forensics showing systematic social media manipulation. Marcus Stone documents physical intimidation using professional surveillance techniques. Sarah Hunt records administrative cover-up attempts through concealed recording equipment. David Cole traces financial connections between school officials and local power structures. Portland authorities, forewarned by Westfield prosecutions, cooperate immediately with federal investigators rather than attempting to protect local interests. Systematic arrests occur within 48 hours of initial evidence presentation. School administration undergoes complete replacement within 1 week. Student therapeutic programs begin immediately rather than waiting for legal resolution. Network success attracts additional law enforcement families seeking justice for their own children's experiences. Systematic expansion targets documented problem institutions across the country. Federal agencies develop specialized protocols for addressing institutional abuse networks. Congressional oversight committees examine regulatory gaps that enable systematic abuse. But network operations face emerging challenges. Wealthy institutions hire private security firms to identify and neutralize law enforcement family infiltration. Corrupt officials develop counter-surveillance techniques designed to detect evidence collection. Legal challenges attempt to suppress evidence gathered by minor children. Political pressure mounts to limit federal jurisdiction over local educational institutions. Network leadership adapts to evolving threats. Children receive advanced training in counter-surveillance and operational security. Parents coordinate with national security agencies to address organized resistance. Legal strategies evolve to address novel challenges posed by institutional counter-operations. Political advocacy ensures continued federal support for anti-corruption efforts. The next target represents unprecedented escalation. Washington, D.C. Preparatory Academy, where Supreme Court Justice Sarah Coleman's daughter faces harassment. Network response will test operational capabilities against political opposition with national security implications. Justice Coleman's daughter, Rachel, age 16, experiences systematic abuse from children of congressional leaders, cabinet members, and federal judges. Traditional complaint mechanisms fail due to political connections. School administration ignores problems to protect influential families. Local law enforcement refuses to investigate complaints against politically connected perpetrators. Network intelligence reveals corruption networks extending to federal level. Department of Education officials receive bribes to ignore systematic abuse reports. Congressional staff members coordinate cover-up activities. Federal judges dismiss civil rights complaints without proper investigation. National security agencies face pressure to classify abuse reports as matters of national interest. Rachel Coleman's harassment escalates to death threats against her Supreme Court Justice mother. Systematic sabotage of legal cases through family intimidation. Blackmail attempts using fabricated evidence against federal officials. Coordination between domestic abuse networks and foreign intelligence operations seeking to compromise American justice system. Network response requires unprecedented coordination. FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, military intelligence, and National Security Agency collaborate on joint operation. Evidence collection spans multiple federal jurisdictions and national security classifications. Legal procedures navigate constitutional separation of powers and executive privilege claims. Political implications extend to congressional oversight and Supreme Court independence. Operation culminates in largest federal prosecution in American education history. 47 individuals charged across executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Systematic exposure of corruption networks spanning multiple federal agencies. Congressional hearings leading to comprehensive education reform legislation. Supreme Court ruling establishing federal jurisdiction over systematic institutional abuse, regardless of political connections. Rachel Coleman testifies before Joint Congressional Committee. My mother swore oath to uphold justice for all Americans. These people threatened to kill her for doing her job. They thought political power made them untouchable. They were wrong. Network success leads to permanent federal task force with unlimited jurisdiction over institutional abuse cases. Systematic reform of private school oversight, eliminating political interference. Legislative protection for law enforcement families, conducting anti-corruption operations. International cooperation agreements, addressing cross-border institutional abuse networks. But ultimate victory requires continued vigilance. Network families accept permanent relocation and security protection. Children grow up understanding their role in systematic justice. Parents sacrifice normal careers for specialized anti-corruption work. Communities learn to recognize and resist systematic abuse before it becomes entrenched. Final scene returns to original network families. Mia Blake, now senior in high school, mentors younger children entering Operation Safeguard. Ethan Blake leads federal task force training programs. Blake parents coordinate international anti-corruption initiatives. Family dinner conversations blend normal teenage concerns with federal case discussions. Network motto, inscribed on memorial wall honoring abuse victims. Justice isn't revenge. It's ensuring systematic change so future victims never face the same threats. When institutions fail, families step up. When families organize, change happens. Visual callback to opening scene. Hockey equipment returned to sporting purpose rather than weapon. Students playing with joy instead of fear. Coaches teaching character alongside athletics. Parents attending games with pride rather than anxiety about their children's safety. Network success demonstrates that systematic problems require systematic solutions. Individual courage must combine with institutional reform. Law enforcement expertise proves essential for addressing sophisticated abuse networks. Federal jurisdiction provides necessary authority to overcome local corruption. The story concludes with quiet determination rather than dramatic celebration. Network families understand their work continues across generations. New challenges emerge as abuse networks adapt to enforcement pressure. Systematic reform requires sustained effort rather than single interventions. Justice represents ongoing commitment rather than final victory. Network children inherit responsibility for protecting future generations. They learn early that privilege creates obligation rather than entitlement. They understand that courage means systematic action rather than individual heroism. They accept that justice requires sacrifice rather than convenience. Parents who lost their own childhoods to systematic abuse ensure their children grow up with tools for protection. They transform personal trauma into systematic prevention. They create networks of support spanning law enforcement agencies. They demonstrate that professional expertise can serve social justice when properly coordinated. Network operations expand globally as international families request assistance with institutional abuse problems. Systematic approaches prove effective across cultural boundaries. Law enforcement cooperation addresses cross-border abuse networks. Educational reform movements adopt network methodologies for addressing corruption. The final message emphasizes hope alongside realism. Systematic abuse problems require systematic solutions, but such solutions remain achievable when courageous families combine professional expertise with personal commitment to justice. Network success proves that seemingly untouchable power structures can face accountability when confronted by coordinated law enforcement action guided by moral purpose. Individual heroes cannot solve systematic problems alone, but organized networks of trained professionals can create lasting change through patient, methodical application of legal expertise and moral courage. Network families sacrifice personal comfort to ensure future generations face fewer institutional abuse threats. Their children inherit both protection and responsibility for continuing the work of systematic justice. Network legacy extends beyond specific prosecutions to cultural transformation. Institutions develop accountability mechanisms preventing abuse. Communities learn to recognize warning signs before problems become entrenched. Families understand legal resources available for addressing systematic harassment. Students grow up expecting protection rather than accepting abuse as normal educational experience. The story's conclusion emphasizes that justice represents process rather than destination. Network families understand their work continues across generations because systematic problems require sustained attention. They create foundations for future protection while addressing current threats. They demonstrate that law enforcement expertise can serve social justice when guided by moral courage. They prove that systematic abuse networks can face accountability when confronted by coordinated professional response. Network children represent hope for systematic prevention. Trained early in recognizing abuse patterns, equipped with legal knowledge about their rights, connected to professional support systems, prepared to document evidence and seek appropriate intervention. They grow up understanding that safety requires vigilance, but that such vigilance can be effective when properly organized and legally supported. The final scene shows Network Memorial Wall featuring photographs of abuse victims whose courage contributed to systematic reform. Rebecca Santos, Jessica Kim, Rachel Coleman, and dozens of others whose willingness to testify despite personal cost enabled prosecutions that protected future generations. Their sacrifice created foundation for systematic justice that continues expanding across institutions and communities. Network families honor these victims through continued service, ensuring their courage contributes to lasting protection for children they will never meet, in schools they will never attend. Justice represents both tribute to past suffering and prevention of future harm. Network operations demonstrate that both goals can be achieved through systematic application of professional law enforcement expertise, guided by personal commitment to protecting vulnerable populations. The story ends with quiet confidence rather than dramatic triumph. Network success proves that systematic problems can face systematic solutions when courageous families combine professional expertise with moral commitment to justice. Their children inherit both protection and responsibility. Their communities benefit from increased accountability. Their institutions develop stronger safeguards against future abuse. Network legacy continues expanding as new families join the mission of systematic justice. Their work demonstrates that law enforcement expertise can serve social protection when properly coordinated. Their success proves that seemingly untouchable corruption networks can face accountability through patient, methodical legal action guided by moral purpose and sustained by intergenerational commitment to protecting future generations from institutional abuse. Years later, Mia Blake addresses the first graduating class of the Network Training Academy, a specialized program preparing children of law enforcement families for systematic anti-corruption work. Her words carry weight earned through experience. We didn't choose this responsibility, but we've proven capable of handling it. Every school we've reformed, every network we've dismantled, every child we've protected represents validation that justice doesn't require revenge, just persistence. The Academy's curriculum blends traditional academics with specialized training, constitutional law, evidence collection, digital forensics, psychological profiling, and ethical decision-making under pressure. Students learn that privilege creates obligation, that safety requires vigilance, that justice demands both moral courage and professional competence. Network influence reshapes educational policy nationwide. Federal legislation mandates transparent reporting systems. Institutional accountability measures prevent administrative cover-ups. Student rights protections carry enforcement mechanisms with federal jurisdiction. Whistleblower protections extend to minors reporting systematic abuse. Corporate partnerships develop supporting network operations. Technology companies donate advanced surveillance equipment. Legal firms provide pro bono representation for abuse victims. Medical organizations offer specialized trauma treatment. Media corporations ensure accurate reporting about institutional corruption cases. International expansion brings network expertise to global education systems. Canadian provinces adopt network protocols for addressing systematic abuse. European Union implements network-inspired oversight mechanisms. Asian nations request network consultation for reforming elite educational institutions. African countries develop indigenous versions of network operations adapted to local contexts. The ripple effects extend beyond education into broader institutional reform. Healthcare systems adopt network accountability models. Corporate environments implement network harassment prevention protocols. Military organizations apply network training to address systematic abuse. Religious institutions develop network-inspired transparency mechanisms. Network success demonstrates that systematic problems require systematic solutions implemented by trained professionals committed to intergenerational justice. Their legacy ensures future generations inherit institutions designed for protection rather than exploitation. Communities prepared for prevention rather than reaction, and families equipped for systematic justice rather than individual helplessness.